Save yourself. Kill them all.
What a brilliant episode. Following on from the tense encounter last week of Will coming face to face with Dolarhyde for the very first time, Will and the FBI now have their lead suspect. No name of course, but Will got a good look at Dolarhyde. He knows exactly what he looks like. And after experiencing firsthand of how easy it was for him to be picked up and tossed around with ease, proves that Dolarhyde's physicality as well as his warped mental state are both equally as dangerous. And with that in mind and the full moon upon us, that meant only one thing. The dragon is poised to strike once more. The problem is, not a single person has any clue of where to look. They don't have a single lead on the family that he may strike at next. Well, in saying that a single person doesn't have a lead is sort of untrue. Let me rephrase that to a single person that may help stop the dragon. That's right, of course Hannibal knows. He was the one who planted the seed. After Dolarhyde admits to Hannibal that his intended next target of Reba is no longer an option for the dragon to take, Hannibal tells him that he must now throw the dragon onto someone else. And after acquiring the address of Will very subtly last week, he knew exactly where Hannibal was going to point Dolarhyde in the direction of. Now would Jack, Alana, the FBI or Will catch wind of Hannibal and Dolarhyde's interactions before it's too late? Or would Molly and her son fall victim to the Great Red Dragon? Welcome to the top 5 moments of the episode, followed by the overall verdict.
I don't want to give her to the dragon. The dragon is in your belly now.
As Dolarhyde wrestles with the fact that the dragon wants Reba for his becoming, he admits to Hannibal that he just simply doesn't want to give her up and give her to the dragon. But as luck would have it, Hannibal hints at a perfect replacement to take Reba's place.
You can always toss the dragon to someone else. Will Graham interests me.
You have hubbed hell, Dr. Lecter.
I often do.
You got what you wanted. Suddenly you're very relevant.
Hannibal got what he wanted. Thanks to the Red Dragon, he became very relevant once again. After discovering that Hannibal's attorney had never called him since he was declared insane, Alana found the source of Hannibal and Dolarhyde's conversations. And after finding out that, Jack and Alana wanted to use that information for their own advantage. They both knew Dolarhyde would call again, and want Hannibal to keep him on the line long enough so that they would track him down. Would Hannibal play along?
I can't refuse him a sympathetic ear. He no doubt needs it. They're listening.
As it would happen, Hannibal did play along for Jack and Alana, just not as they expected. Dolarhyde called Hannibal just like they thought, as they all listened in to Dolarhyde explain his torture and struggle of trying to keep Reba from harm. I think we all knew that Hannibal would warn Dolarhyde in some way, shape or form, but in him doing so, that allowed Alana to keep her promise that you could tell she was so itching to fulfill.
You're not the only one who keeps their promises, Hannibal.
I'm just about worn out with you crazy sons of bitches.
The essence of the worst in the human spirit is not found in the crazy sons of bitches.
After what happened to Molly, Will confronted Hannibal having just about enough of all of his games. Hannibal told Will the truth about what he said to Dolarhyde and how Dolarhyde effectively perceives himself as two halves. Now, with all the walls around Will's mind always at a fragile level, would Hannibal be able to once again bring them down?
The building of a new body and the othering of himself, the splitting of his personality, all seem active and deliberate. He craves change.
I must admit, this whole sequence was one of the best this season. As Dolarhyde approaches the Graham household, Molly thankfully is awake to hear his motions. She grabs her son and very silently gets them both quickly out of the house. She knew that one sound could spell the end for them both, so she came up with a plan to distract Dolarhyde so they could make their getaway. Would Dolarhyde be alert to their escape, or would they manage to slip away under the cover of darkness? My overall verdict for this week's episode of Hannibal is a very strong 9 out of 10. In one of the many high points of the Red Dragon story thus far, Francis Dolarhyde was guided to the Graham household as he went in search for his next victims. That entire sequence was magnificent. Easily one of the best this season, if not the whole show, especially in terms of tension. Whilst watching, you knew that any mistake, any sound made would likely mean the end for Molly and her son. And as soon as she heard those floorboards creak, she knew exactly who was coming for her. Thankfully, they both were able to narrowly avoid the searching Dolarhyde as she and her son made their getaway. But it wasn't without a few bumps along the way. She took a bullet that she had to have surgery to recover from, and she isn't the only member of the Graham household having problems of their own. You can see day after day the amount of pressure and stress that is mounting on top of Will. And after finding out that the dragon went after his family and that Hannibal was the architect behind the idea to do so, Will had had enough. Hugh has always portrayed Will's fragile mind unbelievably well, and you can see his inner struggles when he is talking to Walter. I have to wonder though, the more Hannibal plays these mind games with Will, the more I worry that he will begin to fall under Hannibal's spell once again. Now on to the dragon himself. After showing his strength last week in his confrontation with Will, viewers finally bared witness to the dragon in action. Richard Armitage, much like Hugh, again conveys the struggle deep within his mind absolutely brilliantly. After his failed attempt to kill Molly and her son, Dolarhyde returned home and was punished for that failure. The scene flipped between showing you how Dolarhyde viewed the events and how it really played out. Punch after punch Dolarhyde threw, leaving himself battered and bloody, as the dragon took out his frustration on the man beneath the skin. Now after that, you knew that Reba, who Dolarhyde had grown very close to as of late, was in even more danger now. Dolarhyde tried to do the right thing, and he was clearly devastated when he broke things off with Reba. He had never had that connection or felt like he had when he was around Reba before. He didn't want to hurt her. He even said that to Hannibal. But he knows the more he stays near Reba, the more likely it is that she will find herself in front of the wrath of the dragon. Now then, Hannibal, what are we going to do with you? You got to admit, it was pretty funny watching Jack and Alana stare intently at Hannibal whilst he was on the phone to Dolarhyde. Their plan was to have Hannibal play along, to keep Dolarhyde on the line long enough to find a trace, and whilst he may have done that, he felt the need to kindly warn Dolarhyde as well that he was being listened to. Something which, as you would expect, Jack and Alana didn't take too kindly to. But come on guys, what did you expect? Did you really think that he didn't have a plan up his own sleeve? Hannibal is the master of the game. He is effectively the king, using everyone around him like pawns on a chessboard. Now then, something which I did not expect to see this episode and that surprised me beyond all measure was the introduction of the iconic Hannibal mask. Straight jacket and all, we finally saw Mads Mikkelsen just like we always wanted. Yes, we've seen a mask very similar like that before when it was on Will, but this is the Hannibal mask. To be honest, I thought the chances of seeing Hannibal in the iconic mask would be a lot higher towards the end of the show, maybe even in the season finale, but it was a surprising inclusion that honestly made complete sense. Alana had him confined while she and her staff tore away everything that Hannibal had left. No more paintings, no more bed, and no more toilet. That's right, Alana stripped away the only thing which she believed Hannibal held dear, and with no dignity for Hannibal, she has held up her end of the promise. And with only 2 episodes to go, you do wonder whether Hannibal will get to hold up his end of the promise for Alana as well. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. Continue your support for Hannibal in any way you can, and I'll see you next week for Season 3's penultimate episode.